of our panelists today. So, who here is it their first time coming to one of our events? Oh, okay. Well, a bit nerve-wracking. We're going to have to put on a good panel for you guys. The topic for today is the state of marketing education. So the first thing I want to ask is, who here is a student? Okay, all in university here? Okay, one George Brown person, okay, go Huskies! Yeah, come on. No enthusiasm? All right, here we go. Is there anyone from York here? Come on, let's hear it for York. Okay, yeah, go Lions. Is there anybody here who's still in high school? Okay, nobody, that's the cue to start pouring the drinks, okay? So today we're going to be talking about the state of marketing education. It's a very big topic. A lot of you guys are students, but marketing education, as you'll find out, is not just for university students. It's also for business owners. It's also for later in their career marketers who want to upgrade their careers as well. And I think we really have an amazing panel to touch on all those different points. We have university professors, we have also university professors who work as mentors for startups, bridging that gap between classroom marketing education and the real world, really using it. We also have Nitesh also, who, for anybody who's aware of any businesses in India, used to work for Tata Group, which is a huge company in India, Siemens, really big firms, and a high-level marketer who came to Canada and then enrolled in a marketing course afterwards. We're going to find out why. So that said, I'd like to introduce our panelists one by one. First, we have Bane, as you've seen him. Blair has a cold and doesn't want to knock all you guys out of your first month of school.
I'm really smiling underneath this.
Trust me, he is smiling
Yeah,
underneath.
thank you.
All right, next panelist is Nitesh Amin. And finally, we have from Sheridan College, Garrett Hall. Okay, so we're going to start off with questions about the speakers' backgrounds a bit, once I figure out how to get this microphone going. 1 second. Testing, perfect. Okay, so I guess the first thing we'd like to do is get a short intro of your backgrounds, specifically related to marketing education. It's a very big topic. Marketing, how did you get into marketing? What do you like about marketing? I guess, what do you do and what do you think? What's your takeaway thesis about the state of marketing education today? We'll start with you, Garrett.
Oh, geez.
No pressure.
Yeah, right?
Well, let me give you a bit of my background that'll help sort of understand my attitude towards marketing education. So, at the college level, quite often we work before we get into the field of teaching, and so my background was direct marketing. Which I think is really the forefather of digital marketing. So I had my own e-commerce company, and I built it up to about 7.5 million in sales, and I sold it out in 2009. And I guess what I'm going to say on that, there's very much an applied, you're doing real stuff. And so what I'd say is, so in terms of my disposition, you're going to see the state of digital, or state of marketing education is, and I've taught at university level, and I've taught in college level, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a C+, marketing education. I think right now there's a conflict, and again, they got that applied, the real focus. I think there's a conflict between theory or general theory or lack of applied focus versus applied focus, and I think colleges and especially I'd say universities struggle to make pertinent information that you can use. And for example, I taught a university course and it goes into about 3 classes talking about traditional versus digital media. kind of ended a long time ago. So I guess it's struggling, and I would say, like I say, it's still trying to grow, and I think it's trying to adapt to the times in terms of, I'm talking way too much here, but I'm gonna try to close this off.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's trying to adapt to this new world where all the information is available online, and university colleges are struggling with that, is what I'm gonna say.
Okay, great. Let's take it over to Natasha. So it's funny that you said colleges are struggling to adapt the bridge practical with goal learning, applied learning, practical. Natasha, you actually worked as in the job force for a while, and then you went back to school.
Yeah.
So you've seen the practical, then you went to school, and then you're back in the practical again, working at one of the top performance agencies. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I'll just give a little bit of background about myself. My name is Nitesh. Predominantly a mechanical engineer, but never worked into mechanical engineering. I was always a marketing fan.
Louder?
Sorry. Hello. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I am a mechanical engineer. Never worked into mechanical engineering. I was always into marketing. Started my career somewhere around 2012. Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah. I started in 2012, worked into B2B marketing and sales for quite around a decade, and then moved to Canada around 3 years back. And got into George Brown, where I met Blair. Thank you. And yeah. And here I am now. So my journey in Canada, I started with RBC, who worked with them for a little bit of content marketing. From there, I got into Google. My last 18 months, I was with Google Canada into programmatic media. And from there, now I'm an associate director at a London-based agency called Brain Labs, and I'm into programmatic. Plus one to Garrett's point, I personally feel it's impossible to cover the entire marketing landscape into a course of a year or 2 years. It's not possible. If I talk, I'm a channel lead for programmatic. There are channel leads for search. There's a channel lead for social, so on and so forth. And I personally feel it will never be able to, an institute will not be able to balance what's there in the industry or keep up with that. But then what we can have is a good balance between that theoretical and practical aspects, and keep inviting industry experts into the institutions so that they can keep sharing their expertise and their experiences. So this is what I feel about state of marketing education today, and that I'll pass it on to Blair.
Hi folks, thanks. So I'm Blair, and I think marketing is an essential literacy for the 21st century. So it's everything, and it underpins why I do what I do. I've spent my career as a marketing practitioner, spent about 14 years, agency side, client side. I say I'm a marketer. I was trained in brand marketing and consumer packaged goods, which outside of formal education is probably the best training that you can receive as a marketer. So I was very fortunate to do that and work on kind of all sides. I've seen all of the pieces, offline, online, agency, client. So I have a sense of kind of how it all comes together. I got into marketing education, dumb luck. There was no grand plan. It was a friend who literally tapped me on the shoulder and said, do you want to teach social media marketing and continuing education at George Brown? This was the day before Christmas holidays, and then 2 weeks after that I went into the classroom for the first time, and the rest is history. So I'm committed to tackling all of these challenges and helping develop better learning for marketers. It's the ultimate marketing and intellectual challenge. And to Natasha's point, I'm still pretty bullish on marketing learning. I think there's a lot of opportunity for different players and people, and I think the biggest challenge is it's a marketing challenge. It's to segment and target, and now we need to break up marketing, and there's no, even in like we were talking about stop calling it digital marketing, it's all marketing. Within digital, within social, there's like 5 different jobs. It's not just social media anymore. There's like social media management, paid, like, so we got to segment these jobs and the training to go to have these pathways. So I think there's opportunity there. I'm bullish, but I think it can still be done better. And look forward to chatting with everybody about this.
Okay, and one thing I want to say also, you may not know this, but nobody has spoken to as many early career marketers as Blair, I think. He has a podcast called Year One, where how many Year One marketers have you spoken to at this point?
Thanks, Daniel. So the Year One show, I started that in May of 2022, and we're about 35 episodes now. All folks who are in their first or second year or so of marketing, and trying to get that real on the street, what it's like perspective on these entry level types of marketing jobs. So making it accessible to people who want to find out about how to get started in different marketing roles.
And with his background and experience, we're going to have a question portion at the end of this. So if you're new in your career and you want to ask about other people's experience and stuff like that, really I encourage you to field those questions for Blair. He has a ton of experience with that. One interesting thing you mentioned, all of you, was that, well, there's so much within marketing, there's no such thing as even social media marketing. Some specialty within that. In the field of marketing education, I guess the biggest course names, for example, right now are Reforge, maybe CXL, when we talked about online. These startups that teach marketing education, none of them really say they do marketing education. It's actually quite interesting. They all say, we're training the future product-led growth managers or something, or customer journey optimizers. And it seems that especially in the tech and startup world, nobody really uses the word marketer that much. We want a marketer. They say we want someone to a customer journey optimizer, experience optimization, a community manager, etc. But especially the legacy programs, like the MBA programs, still teach marketing. Do you think there's like they're falling behind the curve, or do you think that, like, how are they reacting to this shift that's mostly led by tech startups away from marketing, quote unquote, and into these sub niches? I see you nodding quite a bit in tech, so I'm gonna field it to you. Well, speaking of tech, it looks like a wireless mic died. That's why you have one that's plugged in.
Yeah. So that's a really good, a very thoughtful question. I'd say, if I have to share my experience, I did my MBA 30 years back, 2010. Feels long years back. There was only one marketing education at that point of time, and that was marketing management. That's it. And if we look at it now, the marketing landscape or the marketing education landscape has got so much of variety of courses to offer, and I think that totally correlates with the evolving needs of the industry. I feel like it's not the other way around, right? It's not because there are different courses that's the reason now they are trying to create a demand in the industry. It was the demand in the industry led by the tech startups, which actually created the need of these many number of multiple marketing education courses. So we have digital marketing, specific courses for advertisement or UI UX or public relations, etc. All these are, led by tech giants. For example, if I talk about programmatic is a very data-driven or very tech-driven industry where you got to be on the top of it. For example, it started, I was just talking to someone and I was telling them that it started with an algorithm developed into a machine learning, and now it's graduating towards AI, right? So all these things are amalgamating into marketing, and the institutions have to keep up with it, I feel. And that's the reason these type of courses are being offered, maybe.
So you're saying they are being offered? There are opportunities in education.
So I think it's a fine balance between what's being taught inside the institution and also the certifications that are being offered by the platforms like Meta or Google or TikToks.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make this question more maybe applicable to a lot of the year ones in the crowd who are in school starting to go into marketing, should they market themselves in their careers as maybe customer journey optimizers, so community managers, or should they start out their careers as year ones as marketers?
So one of the things that marketing, or folks who work in marketing, have an amazing capacity to do is create jargon. At the end of the day, it's all marketing. And in terms of the title, like, those are all legitimate titles. And if you want to be a conversion rate optimizer, go for it. And you will find your other half in some organization that understands what that title means. So, do I think they're all necessary? I don't know, who am I to say. I think it does get a little bit kind of, there's a lot of jargon out there, like marketing is all about growth at the end of the day. So growth, revenue, like it's all the same thing. But if it's a legitimate thing for what you want to do, then call yourself it and go. But I think we have a lot of extra words that we can probably edit out there.
Okay.
Let me. So I'm going to follow Natesh's thought that we can't teach it all, and I'm going to follow Blair's thought maybe a bit more succinctly that marketers are a little bit of BSers. What bugs me about, and back to the point of the jargon and things, all marketing is you have a customer on one side with the problem, and you have students are getting into this one, you have one side, you have a company with a solution, and all marketing is the messaging to say, hey, customer with the problem, we have the product solution for you. And what I find sometimes, especially, it'll be my comments, I shouldn't say too much, to probably take, I get a lot of trouble, so just disregard. No, the academic, okay, leave this aside, I get a lot of trouble. So, nothing's being said negative in any form here, but what I'm gonna say is sometimes, exactly what Blair's saying, the jargon takes over, but everything is tools or mechanisms to say, hey, customer with the problem, we have the product solution, and everything in between doesn't really matter because it's going to change or adjust. As long as you come up with the understanding that you know that you have this problem to give them this information, that's all that matters. And so the tools are going to change, like get back to the tactics are going to change, everything's going to change, but that basic fundamental understanding is there and everything else just fits within it.
Okay. We talked a bit about how right now the conversation is going around universities, okay? How universities are reacting to all these market needs, but the private sector is also reacting to these needs and recognizing a big opportunity for selling marketers, businesses, enterprises and marketing teams, big dreams. So they've launched a lot of boot camps, training things, like all sorts of stuff. So just the three main ones that come to mind are, you have universities, then you have boot camps like Brain Station and General Assembly, and then you also have like other like online led programs like CXL, Reforge. All of those have big fans. Each one has people that really have taken them and have said good things. All of them have people that have said, well, there are things that can be done better. In your experience, what do these three main types of marketing education vehicles, so online, boot camps versus institutions, what advantages and disadvantages do they have? Not all at once. All right, Blair.
So I guess I'm a bit biased here working in the post-secondary sector within the college space. So colleges traditionally are meant to be places of more applied learning and typically shorter programs. So I feel like the colleges are in a good sweet spot of being able to deliver 2-year diplomas. My program is a postgraduate certificate, so I see university undergrads, but this postgrad certificate is a popular way. It's 1 year, there's a work term, and it balances principle and practice. I don't use the T word, theory. I think you can't practice without having a foundation. So it's principle, practice, finding some balance between that. The colleges are starting to, for whatever reason, swim outside their lane and try to offer degrees. I don't understand it. I'm not going to go beyond that, but we're trying to compete with universities. Universities are trying to be more like colleges by doing these smaller certificates, and I don't think they're as well equipped because their faculty members, majority, are more research-based. So colleges and universities in that space, there's a nice sweet spot for what colleges offer in this principles and practice piece. I'll let maybe the other folks talk about some of the others, but my one big thing is you can't spend enough time practicing. So you can learn some element of marketing in a month, or in a year, or in 3 years. As much time as you're able to invest given your situation, take that time and find the education that supports it. And keep practicing. It's just all about repetitions and practice. And from an education space, the more you can invest in that practice time, I think that's the better program outcome will be.
So boot camps, if we look at the advantages and limitations, I feel boot camps, number one, give you good flexibility of learning. You can learn at your own pace at whatever time you need. You can do a job and then maybe equip yourself or upskill yourself with that particular course at the time that you want. Boot camps are also designed more with respect to industry focused, specific skills related, projects related, I feel. So if I have to put it like this, boot camps are more like industry project-based learning where you get specific skill set and then you develop expertise over a period of time. With doing that boot camps, even University of Toronto now has their own boot camps which they offer. So these are all things. Limitations, I feel you need to be motivated enough to log in and then do a self-learning by yourself, which is a big challenge for students. Also, like Blair said, there is a fair bit of question about the credibility of the credentials that you'll acquire for boot camp. Maybe it will be applicable, maybe it might not be applicable if you want to grow on a particular brand side or an agency side and want to get promoted. Maybe a college PG or a university degree might help you and a boot camp might not. But then boot camp may upskill you with that specific skill sets that you are trying to maybe get in a very limited amount of time, maybe.
Or like get promoted instead of get hired.
Okay, this is a hard one. I'm not going to attack universities again. So universities, I believe, give you a great foundational aspect. There's timeless aspects to marketing. Again, the idea that customer need in one problem, product solution on the other. The value proposition is solid, and that's timeless. It doesn't matter. The boot camps, I see as very much, I'm going to go to Blair's, I like your notion, I'm going to go very much practice oriented from my experience, which is great, but you're going to have something to go in there to make that work. The online, if it's done right, I believe, I'm going to almost give them the most credence. It could give you principle and practice is done right, but I'm going to say back to the college level, that's what we do. So I guess what I'm going to say is, and I have, so at Sheridan I did this research project where we took our courses and then we put them in front of 50 businesses, and it was really a nice experience. And I'll say this, I think, is the optimum education on any of these if it's done right. So we took these courses, I took the materials and we had them actually take the students' courses, and then they actually executed what the courses taught them what to do. For example, Google AdWords or SEO or those type of things, not AdWords, ads. And they did all those things. So we took the course and they executed all the principles. So back to Blair's point, I think regardless of what medium, well, again, university is not doing that to my extent, or shouldn't, because it's more of a theoretical thing. But if your learning has the principles, this is why you're doing it, this is the foundational aspect of it, you do your strategic thinking, and then you go through that process, and then you go through and you execute and actually really execute. That's the ideal environment. So it doesn't really matter where it happens, in my view, if somebody does it right. And so I'm going to say any of them's fine as long as there's this theory or a foundational understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and then you execute, and then you get the feedback and you understand. I guess what I'm going to say is, this is the idea. The best way to learn, in my view, is by doing, and as long as somehow the education can make that happen, you're going to be great.
So are you essentially saying that the type of education is not as important as the type of student at the end of the day?
No, I'm going to say the type of instructor is what the important thing, because the students are going to do whatever's necessary, but the instructor has to be, somehow you have to go to applied focus, in my view, to learn. Until you actually do, you don't learn. Okay. I don't know if everybody else agrees.
Yeah, do you guys have anything to add? Do you guys agree with that?
I agree that that's a good point.
Okay, Blair, you going to be with me? Or?
All right.
Just checking Harvard. We're looking at okay, we got a website.
3 for 3 here on this panel. So there really are two streams of marketing in a way. You have marketers doing marketing, but then not only marketers do marketing. You have businesses that do marketing, and a lot of really shitty courses target these businesses, making huge promises. You're going to 10x your revenue when you start running TikTok ads, or implement this framework and you'll do 10x your growth, just pay us $6,000 this week and you'll do it. A lot of it preys on ignorance, I feel like. How do you think, moving away from marketing education for marketers and marketing students, what's the best way that business owners, keep in mind they don't have much time, this is not their specialty, they're focused on operations, how can they learn marketing in the most effective way, not get taken by the scams?
Let me grab this one first. Okay. So again, I did that program of 50 small businesses coming into the program, and I'm going to not rant too much here, but like I've got somebody coming in, she's a legal firm doing $6,000 a month on AdWords, and I can't, how do I say this, it's my profession, but there's so many awful marketers out there, and so many businesses just basically, in my view, get abused by shysters, and it's a disgrace to our profession. So what I'm going to say is, a lot of individuals in the digital marketing field, in my view, don't know what they're doing, and a lot of times businesses don't know either. What the disposition I find out there is that a lot of the businesses think activity or engagement matters. Like I have somebody coming in, so I got these 50 businesses coming in, they're all struggling, they're all trying to get their businesses to ramp up and get some revenue. Their Instagram feed is 10,000 people, and there's like, I got 80 likes today on this, and they think that's something, and they forget again, you've got a customer with a problem, you've got a product solution, and what you're trying to do and they forget this, is you're trying to sell that product to the customer. Engagement is not sales. So you'll see there's a notion of a campaign orientation. So you've got engagement, but that's really the web to bring them in. What marketing is doing is you're trying to so you're trying to get them to get into the space, get the eyeball into your spot, but you have to remember at the end of the day, you have to somehow sell them something. So you bring them into your web and then you sell them, but you'll find a lot of these shysters, in my view, are out there thinking engagement matters. So again, this poor woman is paying $6,000 a month for AdWords, nothing's happening, but there's lots of hits and things, so they're doing all this BS, and they don't understand at the end of the day that what you're doing with marketing is campaigns to sell stuff. And there is a protection, so this is my best thought of the day coming to you maybe. So what you need to do as a business for these shyster, I'm gonna call him Jimmy in his basement, who thinks engagement matters. You think, oh, I've got 10,000 likes, you can get $100 to buy 10,000 likes through Instagram. I can show you a source to get that. So what I'm gonna say is, make Jimmy in his basement have some sort of ROI. They don't like ROI. I Google ads. Google, evil in my view, calling me up and saying, so I'm doing Google ads and the guy calls me up an hour later and says, what's going to be your spend? And I'm saying it's my ROI. No, what's going to be your spend? It's the ROI. Like I did 100,000 growth in about 6 months on Google ads because I made $500,000 back in the day when it was cheaper. I followed the curve up. It's all about ROI, but they don't like to hear ROI, and Jimmy in his basement doesn't want to hear ROI, return on investment. So make Jimmy in his basement give you 1 month. Google ads is here, but how are we going to measure the revenue? And Jimmy's going to run, and you get rid of Jimmy and get somebody who's real on the other side. So that was my rant. That's probably worth the day in my view.
Those were some very good points. I agree to a lot of them. I also, maybe we'll have a chat in the
We're gonna check in on stage.
Yeah, perfect. Going back to the topic, I think that's again a very good question, and it's important to understand or identify the red flags for this. Few of the resources, if I can think of, if we talk about small and medium businesses or business owners, if we look at resources like Google's Small Business Hub, it has a lot of good resources for how to start with your business or how to promote your business online. We have resources like Moses platform for search, where you can learn a lot of SEOs. We have platforms like we have online blogs like Content Marketing Institutes. We have people like Neil Patel, who speaks a lot on about content marketing or about SEO and SEM on LinkedIn. All these resources are free of cost. You don't have to pay anything for it, and you can upskill your business really fast. It is important though to identify the red flags, and don't trust someone who comes and tells you that, okay, give me XX amount of budgets and I'll give you YY amount of your business. That's a big red flag if someone says. Always, not all vanity is bad, because you also need to collect a lot of first party data to have an ROI, right? Because the ROI is usually a lower funnel metric. It's a lower funnel tactic or a lower funnel campaign goal. But then to run a lower funnel campaign, it is important to have a good quality first party data. And to get that good first party quality data, you will have to run a little bit of upper and mid funnel campaigns. And there actually I feel that the vanity metrics are important. It's about the hits and likes, because people who hit and come on your website, you will eventually understand that these are the people who are now slowly graduating into the consideration phase, and then eventually will make that decision. Spoken a lot about it, but then there are a lot of resources, like I said, I'll reiterate, Google's Small Business Hub, Moses SEO platforms, and SEMrush is also SEMrush is also very good, and not able to recall, there were few when anyway, HubSpot. HubSpot was the number 2. HubSpot's academy is also very good if you want to, upscale your or ramp up your business eventually. Last point, I don't know if it's valid here, maybe Garrett and Blair can help me, but in India, you have something called chambers of commerce. So within chamber of commerce, you will have a lot of good credible marketing resources where you can attend technical seminars and then get good people whom you can reach out to for your marketing activities. I don't know if it's valid here.
I know in some smaller communities they're a bit more. I don't know about Toronto, but anyway, yes, they're still a thing.
Yeah, maybe we can
Still
build
a
up.
thing.
Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on it.
So, yeah, I think with a small business person, unless you have the there's all of these things take time. There's no shortage of free resources. My mic drop is for any small business or anybody working in marketing. Each marketing communication has to answer 3 questions, and there's no ands. Who do you want to connect with? What do you want them to do? How will you know if they did the thing you wanted them to do? And you can't use and in any of those answers, and that is the best marketing communication planning you can do. I can go into that further, but as a small business owner, respect that not everything will happen all at once and answer those questions. And if someone promises you to beat an algorithm or give you some exit growth,
Throw them out.
run away, because
It's crap.
it's not going to happen. If they could beat the algorithm, they would have more money than whatever the algorithm company is. And let's be honest, it's probably not the case.
Okay. All right. That's yeah. Thank you. Well, I want to open up the floor to audience questions. All right. So the whole panel, I think, on this topic, it's an open book. We covered a lot. Who wants to kick things off? I saw your hand was up right from the outset. I'm going to pass around the microphone.
So when it comes to marketing education on academic side, I feel like there's a gap. I won't say a gap, but like there is something that needs to be fulfilled. But what about when it comes to job side? Because I feel like even if you go on LinkedIn right now, a lot of jobs, what they're hiring for, they don't even know what they're hiring for. Like all the digital marketing jobs that are out there, they want us to like do paid ads, they want us to do content creation, they want us to do Google ads or whatever. Like they don't have an idea of what they're hiring for. What would you suggest, like, there should be something for those companies or those sectors, like the jobs, so that the people who are hiring, they know what exactly the job of a digital marketer is? And I feel like they use a lot of jargons too, so to even confuse us. Okay, should we apply for that job or not? What are your thoughts on that?
What the hell? I don't know.
You're ready.
I'm on the rant mode. I'm not sure I can cover this one. Yeah, let me just think this through actually. Yes, but let me just see if I can cover this. At the end of the day, so is your question related towards being hired, or what are you thinking? Is that
Towards the education.
the education? So what I'm going to say, and it's a new thought, and that's coming into the discussion. I'm sure everybody's going to agree with this one. I think the education comes out with some sort of skills or portfolio in some form. And I believe the portfolio will take all of the pieces in it, like funnels. I guess what I'm saying, I believe if the education gives you a chance to do different things, and you can present those things to the hirer, that in itself will help. I guess I'm saying you're right. They may not understand, but they can see what you did, is what I'm going to try to say. So if you can show I undertook this, I guess the problem is the jargon and the different techniques. Every company may have a different term, and they may not know what they're looking for, but at the end of the day, they're looking for you to sell something. And if you can show you sold something in some sort of portfolio, that will cut through all of the BS. Maybe that will help. Somebody can take it better than me.
I think I'm thinking about your question about how employers can write the job descriptions better. And some of my conversations with some folks who are in their early career. So I kind of said that there's no such thing as digital marketing, it should be marketing. But for some roles, and typically we see them in smaller organizations, not-for-profits, charities, that organizations that are maybe less marketing savvy, but nonetheless still need the work done. There is a role that's like digital marketing generalist, where you might be doing all of the things. So if you're looking for more breadth, maybe not depth, the ability to try in a relative, with typically low budgets. The laundry is, as the job gets a longer laundry list, I don't think the budget goes commensurate with that. But they kind of throw everything out there because they think that's what they have. They don't have someone helping craft a job description. But if you can go in there and work in probably a more loose environment and try some things and kind of figure it out, there's a role out there if that job description appeals to you. So if anybody needs help crafting a job description, they can reach out. But sometimes those are legitimate things, and it helps at least just, if you're like, this sounds kind of interesting, I don't know if I can do all the things, but maybe, then apply and have a conversation and see where it goes. But yeah, sometimes those laundry list jobs get a little bit scary. You're not expected to be an expert at all of them, but just like mildly dangerous at most.
Having been to your comment there, having been on the hiring side, it's true that as a marketing, as a company, marketing is changing all the time, especially these days with AI. So when a company is hiring, they expect you as a marketer to know a bit of everything, because you have, I mean, in my experience, in 20 years in everything in a company, including marketing, if you're not agile, and especially in marketing, you won't survive, right? It's not the strongest who survives in this jungle, it's the most agile one. So make sure that you bring this agility, that you show that you are able to learn fast, to adapt fast, whatever the environment, and they're gonna give you the shitload of list of CRM, every CRM possible, and don't be scared, because when you know how a CRM works, every CRM works basically the same way, so don't be scared of that, oh, I don't know HubSpot, but I know Salesforce. Guess what? It's the same principles, right? So, and so you're right, they're gonna throw you a whole list of things, but at the end of the day, just make sure that you show that you are agile and capable of learning fast, and that's what you can do online or in universities and in other ways.
Hi, my name is Jenna. I'm with Springboard Employment Services. We've had lots of tech talent approach us looking for work, and the main issue that they're having trouble finding work in the traditional tech space. Do you have any advice for how they can transition into the marketing space and maybe expand on their skill set and still use the skills that they've previously acquired?
You're like the tech marketing person.
Perfect, actually.
Yeah. That's a good question. Again, I feel three things I always harp on, or I keep telling it to all my friends. First, concentrate on transferable skills. What are the skills that you can transfer to any role? So for example, I started my career as a B2B sales engineer, but then I successfully transferred whatever I had learned into digital marketing space, right? After all, digital, linear, traditional, it's all marketing, right? And even sales is a part of marketing. So if you go on the other side of the globe where I grew up, you did a lot of chai pe charcha. Chai pe charcha means you can meet 10 customers a day over a cup of tea. But then here there are a lot of lunch and learns. Now it's all about how can you successfully transfer that skill set of having a quick conversation over a lunch and learn, right? So I always keep telling people that, if you have a good technical brain who can code or who has a good tech experience, maybe you'll be good with a lot of platform marketing, right? So the reason I chose programmatic is because it's a very data-driven, tech-driven marketing where you promote your advertisements over internet and it's humongous. So that's first. Second, I always feel you have to keep your basics right. So now if we talk about marketing, it's always about 3 funnels, and you just got to identify what will work for top funnel, what will work for mid funnel, and what will work for the bottom funnel. Even if someone wakes you up at a midnight around at 2 a.m., you should be able to say, yeah, it's a bottom funnel campaign, okay, retargeting, first party audiences, CPA. What's the CP? You'll get it by the industry benchmark. So that's something that you've got to have on. And third, I feel if you want to successfully transition yourself into some different role, you have to keep your story sharp, always, right? I feel people don't give enough importance to the preparation that goes into an interview, because that 1 hour will actually decide whether you will get that role or not, right? And for that 1 hour, you just have to keep your story sharp, to keep all the anecdotes sharp, and just have a good storytelling with the interview. I think if we have these 3 things, you can successfully transition yourself from a technical side to a digital side, or from a digital side to a traditional side, is what I feel, if both of you go ahead.
From my point of view, so obviously if they have some sort of technical skills, if they can find any size company that matches up to it, great, then they're done, right? They're going to be able to match in and get the marketing to match. But if they have a situation where they can't find the opportunity that's going to help them further develop their marketing, what I would suggest, maybe it's going to go against me, but try to find a smaller organization where, and then back to Blair's point, I think your best learning comes in the smaller environment where you can put a bunch of hats on, get inside there, you'll be able to mess around, because the small organization is going to they're going to let you have a lot more nimble, and they're going to find your spot. Find out where your spot is, then you can hopefully develop it enough, and then from there either organization smaller grows because you're doing something with them, but you'll develop that skill set, understand where you fit, and then you can go off to the large organization. So recommend going smaller one, just try to get as much as, even salary and things to some extent you can even let go of it, because once you find your spot, you're going to make your way back up. So that's what I would say.
Just, I'm thinking about kind of the point you were making there about the, and I'm thinking about what you said, agile and strong, and I want to play off of that for a second. So, basically, at the end of the day, if any of you want to work in marketing or like there's a marketing job out there for you. You just have to figure out which one it is. So let's not worry about, oh my gosh, I don't know if there's a thing. But I think there's a legitimate question you need to kind of think about yourself. We all have to learn and adapt. But I'm going to use the word agile. Like, there are roles that require more breadth and depth, where you're swinging from vine to vine, and you're doing a lot of the marketing things, but to a certain level. And if you want, that might be good early on. If you don't know, get a job that kind of gives you that, then maybe you stay there because you want to be agile. And if you think about an agile person, I'm going to use a bad metaphor, but work with me here, like Tarzan, right? Tarzan had some agility, swung from vine to vine, but looked different than a Hercules bodybuilder who is strong in one area. You might love social media marketing and forget about the rest. So go into that role and be strong in that. You'll have muscles just like Tarzan, but different types of muscles. Nitesh is a wonderful person. I will not hire Nitesh for social media marketing, ever. Well, not ever, but right now. But for programmatic advertising, the first person I will call is Nitesh. Because he is a Hercules at programmatic, as opposed to a Tarzan at all of the things. So if you figure out what you want to do, it's not saying Nitesh is not learning, because there's lots of learning, but it's all right to pick a thing or to find something broad. So, and that's one of the great things about marketing is there's so many places that you can play and build whatever the strength is that you want.
I guess I want to bring this back to more. Sorry about that. I want to bring this back maybe to more of an academic conversation. So it sounds like the consensus is college is much more sort of applied versus university being much more academic. I'm going to switch the conversation now from a hiring perspective. Here's what I see in the marketplace. There's very little theory to back up the applied nature of what colleges are doing. So this is not a comment on colleges or universities, it's the collective, right? So Natasha made some good points about upper, middle, lower funnel. Who teaches that, right? Because the question the marketer has at the end of the day, and I think Garrett made a really good point, there's a job to be done. At the end of the day, we need to sell things, right? So the conversation is, did you grow the brand and did you sell the thing, right? Where did the sale get made? So if you talk about jargon, you'll hear this in the industry. Is it middle funnel, top funnel, bottom funnel? Nobody knows, right? Because the question the question the advertiser has is, I want to spend as little money as possible to get the sale. If you can tell me where that happens, you'll get all of my money. So let's go back to the kind of applied versus theory. There's very little theory. The theory is questionable, right? So if all of what I said is true, right, and the marketer wants to spend as little as they can to be able to maximize their profitability, to be able to maximize the campaign, who's teaching that, right? So the university's got a role to play in that. College has got a role to play in that, but I don't think it needs to be divided that way, right? I think a marketer coming out of school needs to fundamentally understand what marketing is, and then think about channels, right? Programmatic. There's all kinds of issues with programmatic, but programmatic exists in specific channels. Is that where I want to go from a marketing perspective? Do I want to focus on brand? Do I want to focus on something else, right? So I think the conversation needs to be much more about what's marketing's function, why is it valuable, it's broad, where should I wedge into that industry, and then focus my efforts on whatever that piece of it is, right? And so I'm not sure that the only place that I can see that that's happening that I've got some experience with is the Canadian Marketing Association. They're doing some pretty good education around all of that. That's sort of private education, not school education. And Schulich has a pretty good program. Ashley Constance is the prof. And they're giving the theory behind what marketing actually is. It's not channels, it's not programmatic, those are tools. It's selling things to people, knowing that the majority of the consumers in the marketplace don't want your thing. They're not even thinking about it, they're thinking about their lives. So, I mean, where would the connection between the college and the university and the base level education happen?
So if I got, and you're going to get into another rant, maybe a big minor one, but the question is, are we teaching the funnel effectively, or who?
No. Are you teaching the basics? Okay. What is marketing? Yeah. How do I understand it? How do I apply that knowledge specifically to a channel? Okay. Programmatic, search, social, whatever. Okay. Right? So where does that combination of theory, I guess, and practicality come together? Okay.
So what I'm going to say is, from my sense, and maybe I think Blair's right, things have changed. So universities, I think, will do an awesome job on theory. So they understand what you're doing and why, right? Again, and even colleges, I believe, are going to do the same thing, because there needs some sort of foundational aspect. But what I'm going to say, and you made a good point, digital marketing is the funnel. That's what you're doing. No, but you're going to bring them into a funnel, And you may kick them off right away. If it's a smaller transaction price, right, they're going to just go to the top, you're going to transfer them.
Totally, my question would be this.
Yeah.
How do people know to have a conversation about the funnel, because nobody's teaching it?
We are teaching it. No, talk to my students. They're basically, the funnel is 1/3 of my course right now, because paid, because usually our B2B, you have to have a funnel almost. So any course has that funnel. In my view, if they don't, they're negligent in what they're teaching, because again, the funnels are necessary. I mean, it's any sort of long transaction, you have to have a funnel. You have to trap them, grab them,
So
and then
you're
CRM
saying-
them and throw them down and go for the
So
final.
you're saying that you are providing
Damn right.
the baseline theory of what marketing
Yes.
is, so people looking for jobs and going to school can understand
Yeah.
where they want to go in the industry and what to focus on.
Yeah, so essentially, they have, again, back to my, sort of my end, everybody has their own clique. So I say to we say to students the theory of what are you doing? You basically have a customer with a problem, and you have a product solution, and you're messaging and saying, hey, customer with the problem, I have the solution. If it's a chocolate bar, you don't need a funnel. Just go to the top, do the transaction. But if they're going to buy your digital marketing services or something, you're going to have to put them in the funnel. You're going to have to collect their information. You're going to have to pull them down the funnel. And really, as I say, for B2B, the funnel is it. So if they're not teaching it, in my view, they're negligent, because how else you have to trap them and pull them down. You have to get a CRM or something, email, communicate, and push them down to the bottom of the funnel. So I'm going to say, yes, if this course isn't doing that, especially in B2B, it is negligent. So it is happening. And I'm going to say Blair's going to agree.
Right, you're not doing the final, dump the share.
No, I go to Sheridan. So in my time with marketing education, and maybe folks who have gone through, frankly, maybe other than the Sheridan program. So what I've seen, the core marketing textbook resource, like the marketing fundamentals course that anybody would have taken, it is extremely biased to business to consumer marketing. There's maybe a part of a chapter that does B2B, but everything else, it's about selling chocolate bars, sugar drinks, cars, stretchy athletic pants, something like that. They do not address, the fundamental marketing textbook doesn't address that. And the way that marketing education has been built, it's a B to C bias, because it sucks the air out of the room. Everybody knows advertising. We all see this stuff for all these things, but we don't. So it's what we all know. There are certain, and that's where most people are trained. And when we have examples, like we talk about things and everything, build a campaign for who? For the bank. They want to get a new credit card out to customers. Okay, whatever. But like getting to business and really focusing people and letting them know, hey, this is a legitimate thing too. There are different things like funnels and all that. Like marketing, education, resources, and most people trained in marketing, in my experience, have not worked B2B and don't do that. I don't think we do it well. It's one big gap. It's like, let's do a separate B2B marketing course for folks who want to do that, because there are some nuances you need to do. And if that's a pressure point, I think there's generally opportunity. I think to another thing you're saying, there's a bit of like, between principles and practice, there's like thinking. And I talk to external partners all the time. I had a conversation with somebody the other day who owns a independent, smaller agency, but I think they have about 60 or 70 people. And he's like, look, I just want students, I want people to come in and say, I'm the Toronto Zoo, I've got an exhibit with pandas, how do I sell tickets to it? Work through that. It's not the P's and all this, and it's not all press this button on TikTok and press that color button on Instagram. How do you think through which content advertising platforms, paid, organic, to actually solve that problem? I don't think we do a good job of it right now.
And that was really the question I was asking.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Lots of opportunities to spend lots of money on lots of channels. are the students being prepared to understand fundamentally what they're trying to accomplish, and then they can pick the channel and the frequency to really get that done.
I think I kind of, my 2 points go together, and I lost it. I appreciate you going back to that. It's, in my experience seeing case studies, what do? The yoga pant company wants to sell more yoga. Like it's all rooted in the same thing. We don't do we don't do a good job of exactly what you're asking, exactly what you're saying. It's a different problem solving. It's always build a campaign and like, okay,
as
we get all sidetracked
and I hire for agencies as an example.
Yeah.
People are coming to school who are very focused on what are called tactics, right?
Yeah.
I can buy programmatic so I understand how the tooling works, right? I don't really understand what I'm doing, and I don't really understand what the issues in the market are around transparency and fraud, as an example, but I understand how to buy, right? But it's more than that, because you're spending a client's money, and at some point somebody has to stand in front of the client and say, it was a good or bad spend because it's good, right? And so for me, it would be like the foundation is I get what marketing is, I get what's selling, and building brands. And here, client is the proof of your investment and the return I'm going to give you, right? And then you don't have to answer all that as a student coming out, but you need to have enough of a thought process to say, oh, that's what this is about. Then I'm going to pick how I'm going to go after that. Right?
I just don't think we give it enough repetitions.
I would
We
agree.
give it all.
I would agree.
And it's on my mind, and I'm trying to do what I can, but I totally hear you, and I think it's an opportunity.
Okay, the reason that was a great question, and the reason I want to cut it off is not because the conversation is over, but because, well, it started. We like to have a networking event after these panels and after speeches so that you guys have a chance to discuss what you heard on stage directly with the speakers, directly with each other. So, yeah, the wine and the food is over there. I really appreciate your questions. I appreciate you coming. First of all, a big round of applause for the panelists. Thank you. This is our first ever panel we've had, and it was great. I really like this format. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I also have to say a big thank you to Acme Works that hosted this event. Thing. Toronto Marketing have reached a big milestone today, and that is we have our first volunteer reached out to us and volunteered to work with us. That's a yes. Thank you for helping us out, reaching out to volunteer. All right, I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. Go talk to each other, enjoy the food, enjoy the drinks, and I'll see you around.